Okay, so I'm continuing with Meghan Kelly's analysis with Barry Levine, author for a spider.
Ghislaine Maxwell trial, all four of the victims who have come forward are from years ago, years and
Yeah.
years ago. So where did he stop doing it? In the same way, I'm wondering, when did he start, right?
Yeah.
When did he stop? Because we have not seen or heard from victims, as far as I know, in like the last decade of Jeffrey's life.
Yeah. Well, I just want to go back on Jane quickly. And I did devote a lot of time in my book because to me, that incident in 1994 in Michigan, to me, that was the point when Ghislaine lost her moral compass, if she ever had one. This to me was the turning point of when she went to the dark side, 3 years into her relationship with Jeffrey. A normal individual, if they found out that their boyfriend was obsessed with young girls, would have, despite giving her money and finances and so forth, would have run in the opposite direction. Mm-hmm. This was the point when Elaine made a determination on her own that she was going to go down this dark road with Jeffrey. So I do find that incident instrumental in how she became his partner in crime. I call them in my book the predatory Bonnie and Clyde. She presented this cover that Jeffrey never had previously, where she was a big sister figure, where she was able to present herself to the mothers of these girls saying, we're interested in mentorship of your daughter. We're going to take care of her. We're going to send her to college. We're going to make sure she gets to go to music school and things like that. She was the perfect foil for Jeffrey in this, road that they were going to embark on.
Well, this is no different than your grants and scholarship money, or all of these, or student loans that's getting these girls educations, indebting them like Meghan Kelly was, and then they have to get into the couch casting game of the workplaces in order to grapple up the ladder of success. I mean, Meghan Kelly's a real hypocrite here, because she went through all of this and she became a prostitute. I mean, what else is that? So she can be on TV and be a star. Same difference. So this whole conditioning thing, yes, it's true, but they're just focusing on. I mean, Cornelia Guest, she was the original in this one. The Crown Prince, what's his name, Pavlov, I think it is, of Greece, his model daughter was the eldest. She's out there with another Andy Warhol stuff. Young girl, nude. Brooke Shields with the movie she came out with when she was underage that was scandalous, is just another conditioning of these young girls amongst the upper crust, which girls from the wrong side of the tracks are following the model. So to hold Ghislaine Maxwell responsible for this when she was just a participant like so many other people, and use her as a scapegoat, it is really not unfair. It is really unfair. I mean, I'm sorry, Meghan Kelly should be ashamed of herself. Because how is she different from Ghislaine Maxwell? I don't see the difference.
And she told many people that she was his wife. So if you're a young mom of a daughter who's trying to make it in modeling, she would tell people that she worked for Les Wexner, and he would tell people that he was like a casting agent for Victoria's Secret. And they're telling some of these young girls that they're married. So these girls are thinking they're safe, and they were anything but. Just before we get a break in, but I just want to spend 1 minute on Ghislaine's background, because unlike Jeffrey, she did come from a lot of money. Her dad was, he reminded me in reading the descriptions in some ways of Rupert Murdoch, a media mogul during his lifetime. Very well respected, very powerful, very colorful, very strong, kind of scary. She was the apple of his eye, the youngest of like 9 children. I can't remember, lots of children.
That's correct.
That he named his yacht the Lady Ghislaine after her. And then he died suddenly and weirdly while at sea on the yacht in like calm waters, and there was a real question about what really went down there. Was he a spy? Did he work for the Mossad? Was she a spy? Was Jeffrey a spy? I mean, I've heard it all asked. But she had the proper breeding. She went to Oxford. She had all the connections, and that's another way in which she became the perfect Bonnie to Epstein's Clyde.
Yes, that is absolutely correct. She was able to legitimize their relationship in the pursuit and grooming of these young women. And without her, I wrote that there's no way that the extent of the sex trafficking could have gone as far-reaching as it did with hundreds of young women if Ghislaine had not been involved in his life. And there are darker conspiracies beyond that that are connected to, Jeffrey always fancied himself as something of a spy, as a man of mystery. He would tell girls that he would say, I'm a spy and so forth. He enjoyed that time when he was an arms dealer, flying overseas and having meetings on yachts and things like that. And we do know that there are connections between Jeffrey and Israel and links to the Mossad. And Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine's father, also fancied himself as a spy. He called himself James Bond. He had ties, direct ties to the Mossad. He was not an agent, but they viewed him as an asset, according to investigators, one of my investigators who dug deeply in Israel on this and so forth. So there's also a thought that Robert Maxwell had set it up, that if something happened to him, Ghislaine would go into the arms of Jeffrey Epstein in America, and that he would take care of her financially. And so there is a darker story about this, whether or not the two of them were set to go together as part of this.
Oh, I've never heard that.
Tradecraft, honeypot operation to blackmail wealthy and powerful individuals. That is out there, and we may never know the extent of that, because Jeffrey, of course, is dead, and Ghislaine is not going to talk.
No.
And so we'll never truly know the extent of that. And of course, the intelligence community in Israel has buttoned up. But there's no question that it was more than just coincidence that brought them together. And as Jeffrey writes in his biography, that he was this helping hand to get her out of her depression and so forth. I don't believe that for a second. I do believe that there was much more there in terms of how, as quickly after her father's death, that she ended up with Jeffrey.
That is intriguing and a good point at which to pause, squeeze in a break, and then we'll pick it up with their scheme on the other side of this. Much more ahead on the disturbing story of Jeffrey.
Okay, I don't know. I don't believe what I've read about Ghislaine. I don't believe that she was a pawn. Maybe there were forces that put her in with Jeffrey Epstein, or it could have been just coincidental. That would have to be kind of proved and documented. Maybe they're going to go into that. But I think that again, to prove that she's an agent and a spy for the Israelis and influence in the United States, which there's a lot of Jewish people that are involved in all of this. First, the biggest is, what is it, CEO of Goldman Sachs, I always forget, Goldfeld, or good friend of Christine Lagarde, who should have been giving him a colonoscopy when she was at the IMF, instead of sitting on a podium and being good buddies with him. Another one who's really up a creek, Harvey Eisenberg. He's one of the top merger and acquisition lawyers in this country. Now it says equity management, but he was at GW with me, and he's the one who even said to me one time, he said, economics is easy. It's just common sense. He was right. Helped me a lot in my econ classes. I only did macro, micro, which were boring as shit. International econ, that was very, very interesting. To keep on telling all of the IMF guys over there, I'm like, guess what, you guys? I got a 98, which I still contend should put a 99 in my 101 International Econ bachelor level that I turned around and taught to my classmates, who all passed with flying colors, even though he had miserably failed the midterm, because the teacher was just complicating his subject matter too much. I told him when I walked into the tutorials with him that week, I said, look, forget everything he said to you. Here are my notes. First 15 minutes or so from class, this is all you got to know. At the end of the week, they were dumbfounded. They said, you're kidding, this is it? That's it. That's it. He may ask you one or two questions on, 100 multiple choice exam, which one or two questions you're still going to battle with flying colors. You might get wrong, but I prefer you get those wrong than to confuse the subject matter. I understood the whole thing better than him. He was pissed off when I went to him and I said, wait a second, it was a 99 instead of a 98 on the midterm. I was pissed because it was as I say, it wasn't a grammatical error, it was just a question of what the adverb or adjective modified in the question, and I had answered it right. Well, anybody who knows me, who's ever been in school with me, knows I don't give a crap. And my mother would say, oh, you don't care about it. You come home with an A or a D. No, the D's bothered me. Or a C. I'm like, I understand what you were talking about. Yeah, I'm really bad at standardized testing. That's what I'm going through right now for my insurance license. I just gotta memorize all of these frickin' terminology and figure out what they want me to say on the exam. And then I'm good to go. Our educational systems are not working correctly. Anyway, I deviate. But, yesterday wasn't a good day with everybody pissing me off. It was Christmas and I miss my children. Today, but as I told this real estate guy, I'm in here, don't give me a freaking gym to go to and let me de-stress through my body combat or my step or my aerobics classes, rather than give me a spa and some sort of meditation thing, because that stresses me out like you can't believe. And all these little ladies and gentlemen who want to promote that paradigm, see you in court. Okay, move on.
Epstein, his life, his death, and do we think he killed himself, or was there plenty of reason to have him killed? Stay with us. And remember, you can find the Meghan Kelly Show live on SiriusXM Triumph Channel 111 every weekday at noon East, and the full video show and clips by subscribing to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Meghan Kelly. If you prefer an audio podcast, you can have that too. Subscribe and download for free on Apple, Spotify, Pandora, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. There you will find our full archives, more than 220 shows now. Be right back.
Yeah, she's got 220 shows about the same time.
Black Rifle Coffee Company is a veteran-owned coffee company serving premium coffee to people who love America. Veteran CEO and founder.
Yeah, I'm working on quality rather than quantity. And I mean, her whole thing with this provocative conversations. I'm like, no, these are not provocative. You're just giving lip service to all the parrots out there. Like all the other social media platforms.
Through coffee, Evan was able to experience that perfect morning every day, whether he was in Kabul, Seattle, or anywhere in between. There's nothing better than starting your day with America's coffee. Make your holidays better by giving the gift of Black Rifle Coffee. You want to support the cause? Just go to blackriflecoffee.com/MK today and check out the freshest coffee in America. America's coffee makes your...
Promoting coffee. I mean, Colombia is a big producer of coffee. I'm well aware of what the problems are there. And I know Ethiopia also produces it. There are several places that produce really good coffee.
So Barry, over the years, one of the questions I had before I knew much about the case was, why didn't anybody go to the police? Why didn't any of these young girls go tell their moms, go to the cops? The older girls, once they hit their 20s, realize what was going on, and go to the cops. And what I've since learned, and you can fill it in, is they did. Some did. And it was ridiculously hard to get anyone's attention for far too many years. And this goes back prior to his 2008 arrest. And like the diminished charges there. So I'm talking about, like, there were women who stood up and tried to call the cops and get them involved, but no action was ever taken.
That's correct, Megan. I mean, the Maria Farmer case, for instance, the incident in which she was held against her will on Les Wexner's property in Ohio. After that incident and the incident involving her sister Annie, she went to the NYPD. She contacted the FBI. It went absolutely nowhere. It wasn't until 10 years later, during the Florida investigation that began in 2005, that the FBI circled back and contacted Maria Farmer again. There was a woman, Jeffrey had attacked a woman at a hotel in Santa Monica, California, passing himself off as a Victoria's Secret model. She went to I looked at the police reports. She went to the police in Santa Monica after she was attacked by Jeffrey.
I heard her testimonial. Yeah, he said he was a scout. And these women who want to get in the Victoria's Secret catalog, they know that they may have to, strip down to a bikini or even bra and underwear. But he, of course, took it further than that and then wanted to lay hands on women and then did sexually assault this woman, in which she has now said, and she went to the cops, and they did nothing. So the question is, with all that doing nothing over the years, like, why? Was it just like, these are prostitutes? Was it one of those things? Was it because he was connected? And these women weren't prostitutes, I want to make that clear, but was that the attitude of the police?
Yes, they were prostitutes!
Well, the police didn't...
yes, they were prostitutes!
These isolated incidents that took place
in
Ohio and then in California, they went absolutely nowhere. It wasn't until a kid at Royal Palm High School in 2005 was found by a family member with a couple $100 bills in her pocket, and they forced that girl to say where the money came from. And it came from this rich guy on Palm Beach who was paying young girls for massages and so forth. And that's when the Palm Beach police first began their investigation, when this information came to them around 2004. For the most part, Jeffrey and Ghislaine operated from 1994 to 2004 with building this just this horrific life of sexual abuse of these girls. The problem is that these girls were young. A lot of them were there were a couple like the first victim, Jane, who testified, who ended up becoming an actress and so forth, and had a music career ahead of her and so forth. But for the most part, they targeted girls from the other side of the tracks in West Palm Beach, girls who came from troubled families. Maria Farmer talks about repeated threats that had been made in the years since, against her. They would turn on these girls if they thought that these girls wouldn't, continue as part of this pyramid sex trafficking operation.
Well, that's right. So it was a pyramid scheme in a way, because what they did, and by the way, I should say, we didn't get to this, but early in Jeffrey's career in the 1980s, he was accused of being part of a Ponzi scheme while at this one investment firm. He was accused of being the mastermind of it, and in a way, that's what he was running with the girls, because what he's accused of doing is you get a young girl in, and the women have now they're women, and they'll explain how it works. They call you in, okay, he wants a massage, you're going to get $300. It's like a 15-year-old girl. She's like, okay, fine, I don't know how to massage. Ghislaine will show you, don't worry, it's nothing. They go in there and massaging him, and then before you know it, he had his clothes off and he's asking for oral sex, or he's doing any one of a number of things to them. Ghislaine was allegedly in on the actual sexual behavior and with a number of these girls. And then he would turn to this girl, or she would, and would say, now go get me another girl. And for every girl you bring in, you get another 200. And so on. I mean, it really was like a sex pyramid scheme, a sexual abuse pyramid scheme.
Yes, and in fact, one of the girls, now an adult named Haley Rops.
Okay. Yeah, pyramid scheme. Everybody's involved in a pyramid scheme. The financial markets, this starts with Mike Milken, 1970s, junk bonds. You got Bernie Madoff. You got it all over the frickin' place. Everything's a pyramid scheme. That's how business is done these days.
Was kind of the linchpin in the Palm Beach police investigation in 2005. The police put surveillance on her. Haley had told me that she was a young girl there, had been brought in for a massage, had a terrible life before then, had been raped by at a party. Came from a very dark place and ended up at Jeffrey Epstein's house. She wouldn't go through with the massage. However, against, she said, her better judgment, she went and brought 35 girls that she knew in the local community there to come to Jeffrey Epstein's house. Every time she would bring a girl, she would receive $200.